Hey folks, I'm Steve Wilmes, and over here is Matt Kita. And look, we are talking about air tags today, and you know what? We're just using air tags because they're really kind of proliferating in our environment, and a lot of people use them. There's others out there. There's Tile and some other trackers. And basically what I wanted to do today was talk a little bit about the air tags and the tracking of students and staff and all kinds of things. In our society, we really love technology. The Internet of Things. And so I think it's important to understand the downsides of these too. And in our article, we talked a little bit about, that RFID tracking was prohibited in schools from not completely prohibited, but prohibited from tracking students in schools, especially in California.
Right.
And so, when we start to look at the other technologies that are coming out, this ultra wideband Bluetooth connectivity for tracking items, which now is being used to track people and property for nefarious purposes. We have to understand that the spirit of that law, the RFID, was not to track students at all. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about the AirTag itself. Matt ordered one, and we have it here. He's going to unbox it for you because we know you love unboxing videos. But it's a tiny little thing. And again, the way this works is it uses ultra wideband connectivity to connect to anyone that's got a little Apple phone, an iPhone, and even Android phones. So that's kind of one of the things that we're going to talk about too, is how can you track this if you don't have an iPhone? And so, Matt, that thing's tiny, right?
Yeah.
I mean, your key fob is what? About the same size?
Maybe 2 inches long in total, and this thing makes the key fob look like a giant.
Yeah, look at that. Turn it sideways so people can see.
Sure. Yeah, that's the other part is look at that. Look how thin. Look how thin that is. So I don't know. I can even bring it and see if it'll refocus real quick, and I can show it real close, and get an idea of just how small these are. I'm not that far away from the camera, and it still looks tiny.
Yeah. It's pretty small. I mean, it's significant enough that you would know it's it's about the size, a little bigger than a quarter.
Yeah, a little bit of a quarter.
And you would know that it's there if you put it there.
Right.
That's the question.
Right.
So they use Bluetooth connectivity. Everybody's kind of part of this mesh network, and it pings. Apple says, "Hey, look, we don't know where it is. We don't know your identity and all this." Well, that's a bunch of hooey, in my opinion. If they create the software and things are being uploaded to the cloud and everyone else can kind of gather information about it and send it, someone wrote that software.
Oh, yeah.
Someone knows where all these air tags are because they're showing it to you on a map.
Yep.
So the thing is, the other thing is if you have the NFC, like you use your credit card to pay for things. If you tap this, if I were to find this out there on the ground somewhere, I can take my phone, tap it, and now I get the contact information of the owner, which is great. But when I'm nefarious and I'm trying to do things that I shouldn't, well, then contact information is going to come up. So there's a lot of ways to skirt these things, but let's talk about how, if you're going to use this legally and for good purposes, what you would do. I would take this little tag, I'd set it up on my iPhone, and then I could slip it on, I can hang it from my keys, I can put it in the glove box of my car, I can put it on my bicycle, I can attach it to my bike seat, I can put it with my laptop bag. All these things are great. Now, if I wanted to track my daughter, I'd say, "Hey, daughter, I want to make sure, since you're young, I know where you're at and that we can find you if something were to go wrong. Let's drop this in your purse. Let's drop it in your backpack. Let's drop it wherever you may." Right. So then that little thing is going to send notifications, and we'll be able to find her. Now, that's great, except what if I put this on Matt? Because I knew what time he was coming over today. and exactly when he got here. He hasn't checked his laptop bag yet. But anyway, if I wanted to track Matt, I could slip this in his laptop bag. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Apple has identified that there's a problem. Tile is working on one. But if this is traveling along with Matt, boom, 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 wherever he goes, it's going to send his iPhone a notification.
Right.
Do you have an iPhone, Matt?
Unfortunately, no. I use Samsung.
I don't have an
use
iPhone
Android.
either. I'm an Android user too. So, well, that's out.
Thanks for the help, Apple.
Yeah, great. So if you're on a subway or you're on the 405 freeway and everybody's traveling and stopped in traffic and this is traveling along with you, it originally took a couple hours to make a notification. Apple, I guess, has identified that that's a problem. So they're making these notifications happen much faster. But the idea here is if this is traveling with Matt alone, it's going to send a notification to his phone that, hey, there's an unidentified tag following you. Right. Now you have to find it. Okay. So at least you know, and to be careful. But the question becomes, in my mind, those are all good technologies.
Yes.
Right. They're trying to make notifications go out. What happens if you have an Android? Well, there is an app to kind of scan for these, and that's great. So you should definitely look for that app. We'll try and put it on screen here too. But look for the app so that you can download that to scan for it if you're concerned. Now, where it comes into play for me is, yes, a lot of kids have phones, but
yes, they do.
A lot of kids don't have iPhones,
right?
And a lot of kids don't have phones, period, because
parents don't want them to have it early on a lot.
Yep, on, all this. And then the question is, do they know what to do if they get these alerts, right? Mm-hmm. Is it going to be too late if I follow Johnny home before he can tell his mom that he got this alert, right? So this little thing can be slipped in so many places. Behind the padding of a backpack. It can be slipped in a backpack. Mm-hmm. You know, it is going to beep. It's going to do those things. But again, when you're in a classroom and it's beeping, well, who knows? If you don't have the app on the phone, if you have an Android, you don't get the notification.
Right.
So there's a lot of ways that, especially in younger children, right? If I want to track a younger child and I drop this in a backpack, I put it in a lunchbox, I give a gift to the child that has one of these in it. Right. And especially I say, hey, it may beep once in a while, you know, boom. Now I can track this child and then nab them when I need to or want to. So this little device, as friendly as it is and has so many good uses, also has some very nefarious purposes. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Matt? Was this something that you would even consider looking for?
No. I honestly, I wouldn't. When I see something like this, it reminds me of, like, how many times have we seen, like I guess, I don't know if Cops and Robbers is Cops and Robbers. I'm dating myself here. Let's crime dramas, let's say, crime dramas. How often, or like spy thrillers, how often do we see somebody as simple as, like with pickpocketing, like just bumping into somebody and they grab in and grab something? That's actually more involved than this. This is as simple as, you've got an open bag, I drop that right in. You know, it's even easier than that. And the people who will use this for nefarious purposes, as you said, Steve, are the ones who will be very well trained in how to do this.
Right. Absolutely. And I think even, all of the technology, I'm not going to break this apart because I'm probably going to use this for a couple other things, just for practice and testing and stuff like this. But, there's ways to modify the beep on this and to actually silence it. Right. So same thing with Tile. If you really are in a ring where you're trying to do that, it's definitely there. I think the bigger thing is to make you aware that these can be used to track students. Students can track things, right? And again, in a environment where you're at school and these are everywhere and they're floating around, and I want to take someone's laptop or their phone or their backpack, or maybe I want to just be able to do something else to them, beat them up,
right?
Pick a fight, something like that. These are great. I just drop it in and it's probably not going to beep because there's a bunch of these all rolling around with people, right?
Yep.
So now I can track property. We're seeing these be used to steal vehicles, motorcycles, backpacks, laptops, purses, and you need to scan for these. So take a look at this. If you have one, look at the size of it, really feel the size of it, and then think about where on your property or where on your person this may be placed that you wouldn't notice it right away, and try to look for that. And I think when we look at schools, I mean, especially tractors, things that make a lot of noise.
Yes.
Because we do have trailers that are stolen. We have forklifts. All this kind of equipment gets stolen. And this is really easy for them to identify certain things like that. And again, it's like, hey, we dropped this on a trailer, right? The guys are driving around with the trailer. They pull up to a particular location for lunch. Boom, they come out, the trailer's gone.
Yep.
So again, these things can be used for a lot of negative purposes. And I think it's important, if you do have district phones that you're issuing, to, again, make sure that app is available on them, Android and iPhone. Make sure that you know what is in your district and who's monitoring it and stuff like this. But, I think some policies for the students, you probably need to update your policies, update the RFID tracking policy, tracking of students, what it can be used for, what it can't be used for. And you need to make sure that if you are ordering these, if you're seeing these go through procurement, then what's the purpose of them? What are you tracking? And you should have a policy on that as well. Just like you have for your CCTV cameras,
right.
The expectation of privacy. We see that a lot when it comes to GPS in vehicles.
Yes.
Right. And again, for $30, $29.99, you can pop one of these in every vehicle that you own. It can stay there and it can be tracked. So,
yep.
You have a lot of privacy concerns, and that comes up with the GPS a lot of times with the vehicle operators and unions and things like this. So again, warn your students that they should be on the lookout for this type of device, a tile type of device, those things. And just know that, as the marketing tells us that it's all anonymous and all this, it can be used for nefarious purposes. Some of this can be broken down. And again, what you do with it. And if you're a young student, you may not have a phone, so you're not going to get a notice. You're not going to get the beep. You may not hear the beep. You may have your headphones in when you start traveling, stuff like this. So just know that, it can be used like that, and tell students to check their belongings when they get home. If they see one of those, and if they do find one that's not theirs, they should call the police right away and let them know that someone has slipped an AirTag in there and that they're tracking them. The police may be able to find the rightful owner of that, if it's not too nefarious.
Right. Oh, that's our word for the day, is nefarious.
Yeah, I like nefarious.
It's a good word.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, that's it. Just be on the lookout for those. Know that you got another risk to deal with when it comes to your students and keeping them safe. So with that, we'll see you on the next show, the next video. And I think we got some coming up. We're going to be talking about fentanyl and some opioid use and stuff like that. So if you're watching on the blog, we do have the YouTube website, which has all our videos on there and give you a little display of some of the things that we're doing.
Right.
You can follow us there, or otherwise you can just keep on watching on the blog. So we'll see you next time.
See you, folks.